If you want to understand self-criticism and the way it shows in your relationship, I'm about to save you hours of confusion and YouTube rabbit hole. There are only 3 key aspects you need to know, and we are going to uncover them all in this video. By the way, if you're new around here, my name is Andrea. I'm a couples therapist, and I help you create emotionally mature relationships your parents didn't get to have. Let's dive in. In the most simple form, self-criticism is an internal process of judging, analyzing, or attacking yourself for perceived flaws or mistakes. I say perceived because it doesn't mean they're actual flaws or mistakes. You just see them that way. It almost always involves harsh, often irrational, inner dialogue. We call it the inner critic that focuses on failures rather than achievements. So in a way, it's all the ways you criticize yourself, but one part of you has to agree with it. Why agree? Because for you to hear the critique inside you, for that voice to even exist in your mind as a thought, one part of you has to agree, even when the logical part of your brain has the opposite argument. Otherwise, you would just throw it away. Let me give you an example of what I mean by that. So I was working with a couple a while ago, and from time to time, she would say something like, "But maybe I did something wrong," when her partner would reply in an angry way. So from the logical part of her brain, she would be angry. And she would be like, "Why are you talking like that with me? I mean, I just asked you to bring me the blanket." But very fast, that thought would switch to, did I do something? Did I provoke this? Well, in couples therapy, I've seen more times than not how the self-criticism sneaks its way up from the inner world of one and threatens to overflow in the relationship. And that shows up in 2 different ways. And here we are about to see both in action. But let me just say this before. We are not here to judge self-criticism because it's rooted in something way deeper. And you'll see exactly what. And we can't make it suddenly disappear. But what we can do is to understand it and to exchange it to something more productive, something that's going to make the environment of your relationship much more pleasant if you allow it. Okay, so the first way self-criticism shows up in your relationship is this: you unconsciously seeking confirmation of that self-criticizing thought from your partner. Let me show you what I mean by that. So maybe I have a thought that I'm too much. It's not very on the surface. Sometimes it shows up, sometimes I think about it. I'm not always showing it, but let's say I have that thought. Maybe I think I ask for too much, or that I talk too much, or that I seek approval too much. Although from a therapy perspective, thinking we're too much has to do with something in our early development that was too little. So maybe it was too little interaction, too little emotional support, too little verbal rewards, but let's leave that for another video. So I have a thought that I'm too much, and I would, in that case, occasionally push for things. When my partner would want to stop the conversation, I would push to continue. I would ask of him to clarify or ask more questions, even though I would notice slight frustration in him. So I would continue with my agenda because for me, in that moment, it feels like an urge, as something that needs to happen. Otherwise, the world might fall apart. So I would push right to about that moment when he says something like, "I can't do it. I can't have it anymore. This is too much." Or even might say, "You are too much." There, you got your confirmation. And you are back in the same corner, feeling exactly like you did a long time ago. And you might even think, "Oh, I feel like I always do." And that's true. You feel like you always do because it truly exists for a long, long time. It's not new. It was always there. And here's why. Look at this chart for a moment. This concept is from Transactional Analysis, and we have strokes or praises, we have discounts or critiques, and where do we point that to? So towards us as a whole being, like unconditional as it is, or towards the behavior, like conditional, only when something happens. Look around and answer yourself this. What's the first thing that comes to your mind when I ask you, how were you praised as a child? Is praise something that comes to your mind? Or the first thing you can remember is how were you criticized? When you came back from school, or just on a random Tuesday, when you were 8 years old, what's the first thing you can remember? Was the sentence coming from your parent here? Oh, wow, what a beautiful drawing, how creative. Or was it here? Looks, but ignores. Or maybe it was here. Oh, wow, you're the smartest kid in the class, aren't you? Or maybe it was here. It's a bit empty. What, you couldn't finish it during the class? Now, there are more ways to look at this diagram. If you look for strokes and discounts in Transactional Analysis Journal, you will find more fine-tuning. But we are not going to complicate it here. The point is not to throw a bunch of articles at you. You just need this diagram to make it clear for this specific topic. Now, second question. What's the first thing that crosses your mind if I ask you, how often did you see your mom and dad praising each other, giving gratitude to each other? Sometimes, rarely, or never. And how often did you see your parents criticizing each other? People often forget that these two become our inner compasses, things that are directly said to us when we were young, and things we learn by looking around us, our surroundings. So these two ways become how we conceptualize the world around us, and that becomes our inner world. We look around and absorb how other important adults are doing things because they are our role models, not just mom and dad, but aunts, uncles, like maybe we had an important neighbor who was there when we were growing up, or our teacher, our grandparents as well. All that dialogue that's happening outside of us becomes our inner dialogue. And we become either very good at praising ourselves and others, or we become very good at criticizing ourselves and others too. So we come to the second way self-criticism shows up in our relationship, and that is taking that pattern that's within us. I criticize myself, I say mean things to myself, and use it on our partner. I criticize you in the same way I know how. I want you to adapt to it. I'm showing you my inner work. And it's very sneaky because we might not always use the same adjectives we use to criticize ourselves, but the pattern is going to be the same. And if we didn't course correct through therapy or some other self-work in adult life, we will use the same principles of criticizing and praising that we use on ourselves. In other words, and this is very important, the capacity we have to show gratitude and praise for ourselves is directly proportional to showing gratitude and praise in our relationship. And I have a great exercise I do with couples and couples therapy where they see the exact pattern of gratitude, nurturing, and critique and control they have in their relationship. Then together we create an environment when they can see exactly how to do it differently in the present moment. And if you need help with this, check out the links below on the ways we can work together. So the more we are prone to self-criticism, the more likely we are going to criticize our partner, even though we don't see it that way. Maybe we'll have a thought like, oh, but I'm just doing this so he can be better. Or I'm only saying this because I like things done in a specific way, my way, like folding clothes, doing the dishes, moving the pillows. So be very careful because our mind has that, let's say, distortion option where we tend to justify. We don't even see it as a critique, we justify it. We say, oh, because we are doing this because of this. And that's a distortion. And the third angle I want you to bring home with you is this. Which relationship you think is going to be more pleasant to be in? Relationship A, the higher percentage of critique and control, or the relationship B, with the higher percentage of nurture, strokes, and praises? Yep. Exactly. Now, hear me out if this is you. In couples therapy, we learn that reactions are our own responsibility. We are the ones who get to choose how we react. We can have the emotion, of course, but we get to choose how to react to it. I can feel the anger and I can choose not to yell or not to roll my eyes. Yes, and rolling your eyes is also a form of anger, just a passive one. So no amount of other people's doing can make us do something. And I know that is part of everyday speech. We use that phrase, oh, she made me do it, and he made me do it, or they did that, so I did this. And this might sound strange, but that is so incorrect. The reaction comes from us. I like this idea of perceiving it as a power. So think about it like this. We hold the power to react in a certain way or not to react in a certain way. Now answer this. Why would you give away that power and say that someone else has the power over you for your own doing? We can have the emotion. The emotion is always valid. And we have the power over how we react to it. And in the case of this couple, nothing she did or the way she asked could make her partner show up angry. Eventually, in therapy setting, we question what happened there. Was there anything between you two before that? How often does this happen? How did you hear what she asked of you? That's the important one. Now, I also know that sometimes it doesn't feel like that. Like, I'm obviously frustrated and I'm about to show it. But remember all the times that you didn't. So I can be angry and choose not to yell or not to roll my eyes, or I can be frustrated and choose not to argue in that moment. So even though emotion is there, I can choose how to show it. I often give my clients this example. So if you're in a work setting and your boss, or let's say a colleague, says something inappropriate, would you immediately yell? Would you argue? Or would you choose something different? You see? Options. So why we wouldn't do that in our relationship? The important thing is we are not here to talk about suppressing our emotion. That's something totally different. We are talking here about choosing the reaction when we decide to. When we look at all the ways we interact in this world, it's through these three forms: our thoughts, our emotions, and our reactions. This is one of them. Reaction. And the reaction is the one we get to choose the easiest out of those three. So what can be done? Have you heard of a game, I Spy with My Little Eye? It's a very cute children's game when one says like, I spy with my little eye, and looks around, around the room or around the environment, like maybe they're outside, and says something like, I spy with my little eye something orange. Or, gives a clue by not saying the exact object. And the other one has to guess what the object is and where is it. So it's a game of paying close attention. And I like to give this assignment to my clients. And you can do it too. But this time, each couple is playing with themselves. And the assignment is, I spy with my little eye all the good and nice things my partner did today. Then each of them writes it down. And at the end of the day, they say it out loud to each other. Thank you for. I like when you. The one who has the most things on their list wins. You see how this is a win-win game? Oh, I love playing those games where actually no one loses. So you play it, you win anyway. Why are we doing it like this, even though we're talking about self-criticism here? Well, from my experience, it's much easier to notice nice and good things on the outside, things that are outside of us, and then slowly build them towards inside. Because the capacity to give and accept praise can be expanded. And I saw this countless times. Because we cannot simply just take away something. We cannot just say, oh, I want to take away the self-criticizing part. Because then we are left with, but what are we going to do instead of that? Like when you dig a hole, it will not remain empty. We have the choice on what to put inside. I like to show my clients this. It's from the cute little comic called Awkward Yeti. So the reality is that both exist. Our partner is doing the things we approve of, and our partner is doing the things we do not approve of. Exactly like we do things our partner approves of, and we do things our partner doesn't approve. And that's not a problem, not at all. The problem is if we only pay attention to the parts we do not approve, and then only say those things out loud. How different do you think your partner will feel when you say something nurturing, like, when you hugged me today, my entire body relaxed instantly. Thank you for that hug. Nothing more, just that hug. Not all the hugs, not every hug we ever had, just this one. Or, when you asked me this afternoon how my day was, I felt instantly connected with you. Thank you for bringing up the question. It was about that moment, not about all the moments when you asked me how was I, and maybe that time I wasn't in the mood to talk. No. So that moment, now, just now. Or, I noticed that you put away the dishes. Thank you for doing things together with me. It feels nice having an equal partner. Even though it's not always equal, we know that, it's equal in this moment. You see what I mean? Stay away from generalization. Always, never, every time. Stay away from that and pay attention. I spy with a little eye the now moment. Today, because the energy of nurture and praise is contagious. It has the potential to spread from you to him, and from him to you, back to your inner world. Hey, and if you found this video useful and want to see more content like this, please consider subscribing to this channel and stay tuned for more.